Hi, everybody. Welcome to Prof. John's Critical Thinking Orientation. We're going to talk a little bit to begin with about what is critical thinking. Yeah, I know you're taking this class because it's a requirement to do this or to do that, but hopefully we're going to get something out of this that's going to really benefit you in terms of your future careers, your future educational goals, your future lives, because thinking critically about issues is incredibly important for you as citizens in this country, as non-citizens, as immigrants, as just as human beings. To be able to think critically means that you're going to be able to do what's important. You're going to know what's important. You're going to be able to take steps that are going to make our society better, hopefully. And you're going to know what might, help us to become a better society. So what is critical thinking? It has a lot to do with causality. If you know what causality is, that's what one thing causes another, and that's something that's completely left out of our history textbooks in high school. Why are things the way they are? They don't do that. They just present the facts. It's like this because it's like this. That's, what do you need to dig into the why for? Don't be looking at anything that could create problems for us as a nation. And that's what they try to avoid in your history textbooks. So causality, why are things the way they are? Why did Trump get elected? Why does he have such a loyal following? Where does white supremacy come from? Where does race come from? Why is there so much injustice in this country? All those different kinds of things, the why of it, that involves delving into our past. I hate to tell you this, but there's no way to figure out why things are the way they are with going somewhat into the past. And in order to find out who we are, we have to know where we came from. And knowing who we are is a really important feature of being a human being. And if you don't know where you came from or why you are the way you are, then you're kind of just wandering around lost. So that's one of the focuses of this class, is to get into history, but it's an interesting history. It's a history that really is going to draw your attention. It's going to fascinate you. And that's a promise. I think that you're going to be really intrigued and fascinated by the readings. All of this stuff in your past about how you hated history or you didn't like it or wasn't interesting because it was just dates and presidents and all that stuff. That's no longer the case, because this history really is interesting, and it tells the real story of how we got the way we are. And that has to do with, the real past, not just the pretend past. A little bit about summer session. Summer session is just 6 short weeks. So they pretend that I can squeeze 17 weeks into 6 short weeks. And unless I was a magician, that's really not possible to do that. What I do is I take out some aspects of the 17-week regular session course, and I keep the nitty gritty, I keep the interesting parts, I keep the basics of a critical thinking class in there, and I make it doable for you. It's possible to do this, but it's a lot of work, because you're in a regular face-to-face session, you're going to school 5 days a week or 4 days a week every day. So in this class, it's a lot of work. The weekly shells are very long because it takes in a whole lot of work that you would normally do in a week, or in a regular class in 2 or 3 or 4 weeks. So, but it's doable. I've done this class several times before, and students tell me that the way it's organized is very accessible to them. It's just a lot of work, and you just need to get ready for that. So before much more ado, I would like to get in there and show you the shell and orient you to what you're going to be facing during the semester in terms of the Canvas shell. So I'm going to share my screen. Oops, I did the wrong thing there. I'm going to share my screen. I got to go to the Canvas shell here. There it is. So up here in this upper left-hand corner, this is what you'll be seeing when you open up the Canvas shell. This is the navigation links Over here, and this is the home page. You can see that because it's in black. The modules, this is how you're going to navigate to what you need to do for the semester. This is how you get to the basic structure of the course itself. And so if I just show you really quickly, there are the modules. I go back now. This is where you get to your grades. So you want to get to your grades, find out how you're doing on a particular assignment, your grade came in, or your cumulative grades. It will show you what your end grade is going to be. I want to caution you, don't get really freaked out if at the beginning of the semester you get a low grade and then you look at your end grade and it's really, you've dropped a lot. Well, that's because it's all cumulative. So if you haven't got a lot of grades in there, your grade can fluctuate a lot. So don't worry too much until you get, like 2/3 of the way through the course. And then you can tell, where you're headed with your final grade. And the next link is the syllabus. So I'd like to get in here and go over the syllabus with you right now. Up here at the top is my English site. On this English site, this is what I used to use when I did face-to-face classes. It was very useful at that time. Now that I've got the Canvas shell, I don't really use it that much, but if you want to take a look at it, you can. If you're taking Spanish, there's a really cool Spanish site there. I speak fluent Spanish, and so I did that when I went back to school, and then I taught Spanish for 5 years. So I'm good at speaking Spanish, and I actually developed a website to help my students. So the reading material, I want you to read this whole thing. So just because I skip over stuff doesn't mean I don't want you to read it. The reading material, these are the reading materials, and good news for you, you do not have to buy anything. Don't have to buy a textbook, don't have to buy anything for this class. It's all self-contained within the Canvas shell itself. So it's all of the readings, all of the videos, it's everything is right there at your fingertips. Equipment requirements, check that out. These are the components of critical thinking by Brookfield. We've kind of looked at that a little bit. Some of this stuff is already talked about. The end of this course, these are the student learning outcomes. Read this for information. Discussion posts. This is really the meat of the class. Discussion posts are incredibly important because this is where the critical thinking starts to happen, because you're making connections, you're putting things together, you're thinking about causality, you're connecting something that you read about to the present. And so all of those different things are going to really develop your critical thinking skills, and that a lot of that happens in the discussion posts. Also in essays, but the discussion posts are 50% of your grade, as you can see down here, and the essays are just 35% of the grade, and that's for 2 essays. So I put a lot of emphasis on your posts, so put everything you got into your discussion posts, read about the essays, read about revisions, attendance and participation. It's important not to get too far behind. I do accept late work, so that will help you a lot if you do happen to have something come up and you do get behind. Don't plagiarize, that's the academic integrity one. So a little bit about your grade. Start off the class with a argument and fallacy exam that's based on a handout on the elements of argument. And so in a critical thinking class, you kind of need to dissect what an argument is in terms of the logical fallacies and the different types of thinking that are involved, deductive reasoning or inductive reasoning, those kinds of things. And so the beginning part, first couple weeks are devoted to that. And then there's an exam after that. So after that, which is kind of a dry portion of the class, then we get into the real fun part, which is doing the reading and our discussion post. That's 50%. And the quiz is 10%, 2 essays, 35%. A little bit about how I grade. I do grade up. If you can see me now, you see 2 thumbs up. I grade up in the sense that I grade on a pretty steep curve. So if I see that you're getting kind of a high B, then I don't really want to pay attention that much to the numbers. I'm going to give you an A in the class. If I see you're getting a high C, then I'll give you a B in the class, and so on. I really don't like to give below a C in the class. And students who've been in my other classes will know that. So hopefully you'll be able to get at least a C in the class, and I don't want to hurt your chances of moving on to whatever you want to do. And I know that things are really tough out there right now with the pandemic and all the different things in our neighborhoods that are going on, and you guys have lots of, responsibilities that you have to fulfill. You got families, the whole thing. So I don't really like to fail people, and I generally don't. So after talking about that, what I'd like to do is go back to the home page and take another look at the home page and finish filling you in on some issues with the home page. Now, up here is a painting, an image of a painting that was from the African American art exhibition, and I allow you to get an extra credit by giving a critical analysis of what you see in this painting. In-depth critical analysis. So is 15 points available for extra credit on that. And if you click on this, you can get to the actual assignment where I describe what you need to do for that. So what I'd like you to do is to go over this page and to see these are links here. That's about civil disobedience and talks about powerful people here. So click on the links. The theme of this class is social justice. So a lot of what we're talking about has to do with social justice. A lot of it has to do with social injustice. All of the different things that have happened that have been bad in this country, that have been about oppression, have been about violence against minorities or people of color. All of those things are a part of this class, historically on up to the present, like I said before. And so I give credence to Black Lives Matter movement. And so I have a link to their website here. So a big part of being a successful student is communicating with your instructor. So these are the different ways that you can communicate with me. If you want to do a Zoom, I really value Zooms. And they are a way for us to work one-on-one. You can share your screen, I can share my screen. If you have a question about the shell, I can pull it up and I can show you. If you have a question about something you're working on, you can pull up the draft that you have and we can go over it. So Zoom is much better than the face-to-face class where we had to make an arrangements for you to come to office hours, and you might be able to do it or you might not because it wasn't convenient for you. But this way we can meet at our convenience one-on-one, and it's really a really great learning tool. I've found that I've done better in my online classes than in my face-to-face classes. Their students do much better in these classes than they ever did in my face-to-face classes for a variety of different reasons. And one of them is that everything is self-contained within the shell. In a face-to-face class, I would give a lecture, and after I gave it, maybe you didn't make the class or maybe you didn't take the best notes, but then it would be gone. But this way, my lectures are all self-contained. So if there's something you remember that you didn't hear, you just go back and you can take another look at it. That's just one of the many different ways that this online shell is better than the face-to-face class. So another way to get in touch with me is through my phone number. This is a Google Voice phone number. It's not my actual cell number, but it connects to my cell phone. So if you call this number, it'll ring through to my cell phone and then I can answer it. Canvas email is another good way to connect with me. I commit to answering my email within 24 hours. And that means that usually I'll get to you even less than that, because I answer my emails, like I'll check it 2 or 3 times a day. And so if I see an email come in from somebody, I'll answer it right away. So sometimes you'll send an email and boom, it'll come right back at you. So, but the thing about email is that it's not really convenient for some types of questions, complicated questions. It's easy to get simple answers, and even the simple answers can be problematic because you've got to be very specific in what you're asking. You can't ask something general or ask about an assignment. You got to tell me what assignment it is, when it was due, what was the name of the assignment, all that kind of, and because lots of times what happens is you'll ask me one thing and I'll be answering something completely different. And so that's why email sometimes is not the best way to communicate. Simple questions, it works great. Use the Canvas chat tool, that's up here, the chat tool. So with that, you got to arrange to be here in the shell at the same time. And that's a way for us to communicate synchronously. That means at the same time. And speaking of synchronous, before I forget, there are no synchronous meetings for this particular class. In other words, you do not have to be there at any particular time to meet over Zoom. It's always by arrangement, individually. Everything is contained within the shell, so we don't have any scheduled Zooms where the class all has to get together and meet. So down here at the bottom, there's some Canvas guides. Canvas is really great about teaching you how to do different things within the shell. So you can take a look at those if you have the need. Those are also, many of them that are most useful are also included in the modules. So let's take a look then at the modules and get at the meat of the shell itself. So I'm going to go to instructor view here so I can show you everything, because a lot of it's going to be grayed out because some of it's not open yet, so I wouldn't be able to show it to you. So I'm going to go up to the how to this and that module. First, I want to show you the video library. Here, there's a lot of videos in here that if you're interested, you can check these out. A lot of them I found to be incredibly interesting. If you have some extra time, you want to watch something, maybe you have time to watch a video in the evening at some point, you want to watch it with your girlfriend or boyfriend or significant other, then you can check it out and watch some videos. How to this and that, a lot of different really useful tutorials in here. These are the ones from Canvas. These are how-to resources from Prof. John, how to get support, some specifics on that from me. I've already talked about that. How you and I will use Canvas, check that out. How to post a discussion for this class, some very specific information on that here, so you can check that out. How to annotate online for this class. Also important, annotation is a very critical skill for this class and really for all your classes in college, because it's a time saver. It's a way for you to think critically about issues as you're reading, to make connections, that kind of thing. Talked about connections a lot already. How to do MLA citation and formatting, that's here. How to introduce authors and sources in your essays with patterns. This is something you're going to need to learn to do, and I have actually a section on it. It's that important. If you don't learn this, then you're going to get deductions on your discussion posts. How to organize, outline your essays. There's a really good handout in here that will really help you to draw up an outline for your essays, so check that out. It's very important. Grammar, proofreading, abbreviations, take a look at that. Now this section we've got here, the video tutorials, is really important about all the different technical things that you're going to need to do in this class. I've got very specific tutorials on how to do all of these different things. So familiarize yourself with all of the different topics here. So if it comes time in the semester for you to look at it, to find something, you'll remember, oh, there was a tutorial from John on that. For example, everybody should know that you have Microsoft Word available to you as a Peralta College student. Well, how do you get to it? This tutorial, I will show you very specifically how you do it. You just open this up, check it out. It's a tutorial, and then I teach you actually how to do it, how to get to it. Tutorial. I'm going to show you how, as a see, there I'm down in the corner. Your Word application from within Outlook email. This is where you are. Okay. You can see in the window. So that's what they're all like. They give you a very specific, with me talking to you in one part, and then on the other part, it shows you exactly how to do it and with whatever it is that you want to do. How to annotate a Word document. That's one of the, there's a quiz early on that you need to know about that. I reintroduce some of these things later on when it comes time to do them within the shell itself. Okay, moving on, student orientation, resources and support. Peralta has some orientation stuff here, which I don't really emphasize that much. Prof. John, resources and support, how to get support, help from your instructor, talked about that already. Canvas in this class, who's this Prof. John dude anyway? I like for people to see this because I have kind of an untraditional trajectory for getting to be an instructor at Merritt College. I was a high school dropout. I did a lot of nefarious stuff for 25 years or so. I was a drug addict and alcoholic and all the different things that I did until I, stopped drinking and doing drugs and went back to school at the age of 45. So this tells you the whole story, Prof. John's story here. This is my lovely wife, Mary, who is just as beautiful now as she was back here when we were hippies together. So I'm very lucky to have been with this same woman for over 50 years. She's the light of my life, and she's the reason that I'm doing what I'm doing now. Without her, I would have been dead a long time ago. Okay, so going back now. And then the stills, my welcome video to you, expectations for this class, can I turn an assignment late? I bring this in several different times. The first 3 weeks, I put it as the first element because people are always asking me that, can I turn in an assignment late? Well, yes, you can. I have due dates, and that's the suggested due date, but unless it says due date firm, then you can turn it in late. It's a very good idea to stay up on your assignments and do them by the due dates. If you turn in something late, there aren't going to be any comments on it. That's one of the reasons. And if you turn it in something late and you need feedback on it, that's going to be a problem for you. If you turn it in and it's just great, then that isn't a problem. Please read about summer session classes. I've already mentioned some of the stuff about this in the introduction when I opened up the orientation. And this is where I'm going to be posting the orientation we're talking about right now. So some extra credit opportunities for you here early on. Email me, just a simple email to me, you'll get 10 points. I really like and emphasize the idea of putting your personal profile picture in so that you can see a close-up of your face. And that's a critical issue. I want to be able to see your face, because if you give me a long shot of you standing next to your car off in the distance, I mean, that could be anybody. So I really want to, kind of like what you see with mine, you see my face and you see who I am. That's exactly what, in order to get the 10 points for this one, it's got to be a close-up. So there's some personal introduction opportunity here for you, a possible 10 points. And also, I talked about this already, discussion post on the painting on the front page, home page, also a discussion post on critical race theory and the 1619 project. Okay, so this is the week number 1, class introduction. There should be, can I turn in an assignment late here? Why isn't that here? Is it in week number 2? I'm gonna have to add that here. Nope, I promised it would be there. It'll be there the next time you come. Okay, so this is the beginning of the class, and the thing that I really want to stress in this particular part of my orientation is that you can go through here and see where the points are, like the annotation quiz. This is with 10 points. Oh boy, you can say to yourself, I'm going to jump right ahead and do the points and forget all this other stuff because I don't really even get any points for that. Well, the problem with that is that you don't really know how to do what you need to do to get the points. And the learning comes in all of the different elements in the module. So do the modules in a systematic point by point by point. Do this first, do this, do this, do this. Don't skip any of them. Because if you skip any of them, you're not going to learn the element. And that's really important in terms of being successful in this class, is to do it very systematically. Okay, so these are the modules. You can see that they seem rather long, and they are because this is a summer session class. And if you get to the end, the extra credit module, there are some actual extra credits here. I want to make sure that you see these because these are called, I call them proofreading exercises. Other instructors might call them grammar exercises. Well, that's a bad way to go. Because if I teach these as grammar, I'd be insinuating that you just need to learn them, and then once you learn this grammar element, you're cool, you know it, and then good to go. That's not the case. Once you learn sentence fragments, for example, in order for it to stick, in order for you to remember it, you've got to apply it right away. You've got to start proofreading with it. And that's why they're called proofreading exercises. So here you learn how to proofread for sentence fragments, and then you go to your writing and then you start proofreading for it. Once you do that, then in the practice, that's where you actually learn it and you'll remember it. So you can start to write with fewer and fewer sentence fragments. So during the course of the semester, I'll try and spot people that have fragment issues or run together sentence issues or subject verb agreement issues. And I'll tell you that it'd be a good idea for you to do those exercises. Then after you do the exercises, you should be actually proofreading for those issues. Also, sentence combining down here, longer sentences or better sentences. These are ways for you to create longer, more mature sentences with these kinds of modifiers. That's what they're called, sentence modifiers. So if you want to learn how to write better, if you've got aspirations for being a good writer, then you might want to just take the step and get some extra credit by doing these extra credit exercises. And down at the bottom, there are more of the images from the gallery, from the exhibition in San Francisco on Native American art or African American art. Some really incredible pictures. So check those out. Just for fun. Okay. So I'm going to stop the share and I'm going to wind this up because I think I've kind of prepared you pretty well for what you need to know to be successful in the class. I hope that you get a lot out of this class. You know that if you need anything, I'm only an email away. I'm only a Zoom away. I'm only a chat away. So I'm only a phone call away. So make sure that you get in touch with me. Let me know what you need, and I'll be here to support you. Okay. So good luck in the class. I hope to be meeting some of you more personally later on, and I'll see you down the line.